Hey, I'm Paul with MadCap Software, and now we are going to begin creating this custom PDF output and going to begin doing that with our title page, the very first thing that you see in the PDF, according to the mock-up that my graphic designer gave me. And this is going to be a combination of, different pieces, definitely topic and page layouts and styles and stuff. This video is probably going to be the longest video. It's going to be the gnarliest one. This is the mock-up, and it's going to take time, but I'm not going to go to all this work and not be able to reuse it. That's going to be the great thing. I'm going to do some work and get this page together, but then, man, I am going to reuse this for lots and lots of PDFs. So here is what we're going to begin with. We're going to try to recreate this thing. And I am going to begin by creating a topic just for this title page. Now, I downloaded that fancy pants template called Del Mar, and it's loaded here in Flare. And of course, the first thing I probably would do is look at this reference document and get my own logo in there and stuff. And then once you're all done with that, you can just delete that PDF from here. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to use the placeholder logo and, hero image, all that from this project. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is create this topic that's going to be used for my title page. And if you watch the video on creating quick and easy PDF output in Flare, I am going to create a print-only folder because I want to keep my topics separate that are going to be just in my print output. And I do that so that even if it's not in the TOC in the online output, somebody searches for it, I don't want them to find my title page or my copyright page. They're meant only for my print output. And I'm going to use the same thing I did before. I'm going to use conditions in here. So open this thing up, and this one has a couple of conditions set in here already. Audience A, audience B. I can create a separate condition tag set if I want, or I can just put them in here. I'm going to create some generic ones for online only and print only, like I've done before. So I'm just going to do this, call this one online only, and we'll just leave it with that blue and do another one, dark green for print only. Done. Save. Go back to Content Explorer, right click on my folder, select properties, go to the conditional text tab, print only. Okay. It's got the color in there. Toggle that on or off if you want to see it or not. And any topics I put under there are, once I get to this target phase later, it's going to keep them out of my online output. So I'm going to create my topic that I'm going to use for my title page. And I've already done that before. And so it remembered my file name was title. That's what I'm going to call this one. And I'm just going to use the new topic template in here. Click add. And there it is. But we are going to fancy this thing up, aren't we? So if we go back and look at our mock-up, we see different things in here. And the question is, what content do we put in the topic versus what content do we put in the page layout, the file that lays underneath it? Well, sometimes that becomes clear, and other times you just kind of make a decision. You could do either. You want to put things in the page layout in frames if that stuff is going to be reused on other pages, or sometimes it's just easier to get things like it could be really easy to get this image in here in the page layout in the background of that frame. Other things like, all right, the title and maybe these bullets and this text down here, maybe that's better in the topic. These fancy, icon images, that's probably, it would be easier, I think, to put that in the page layout. Same with the hero image, and then footer, I'll do that in the page layout. So just kind of decide what needs to go in here. Well, I'm going to start out with this. This is my title text. and then work my way down to these things in here. For now, I have the, let's see. For now, I have this placeholder text in here, and I am going to be replacing this stuff. But I'm going to do that as we go through the rest of this video, because I am going to be using some variables in here as opposed to just typing things. And yeah, so let's do that. We got our topic title, sorry, we got our title page topic done. We're going to come back to this, but let's move on to the next thing. Let's go and do the page layout. Okay, page layout. Let's come over here to resources. And I only have a few folders in here. In fact, this one, master pages, that's old way of saying template pages is the newer one. So I'm just going to change that and update the links. So that's template pages, and that's used for our online output. And I'm going to create a folder in here for our page layouts. Call this. And I'm thinking about that title page and the page layout. How many? So do I want just one page layout for that? Do I want to put the copyright page in the same thing? I think I'll put both the title page and the copyright page into the same page layout. Let's right-click this, select new page layout. And because they're both going to be in the same thing, I'm going to call this front matter. I'll put my TOC in a different one, even though it is front matter. Technically, I'm going to have a separate page layout for that. I'm going to use this template here because it has some pieces in for me already, and click add. All right, so I've got my left page, right page, first page, title page, empty page. But all I really need is the title page. And then after that, I can add a different page type, a normal page that's just for my copyright. And I'm going to do that because this is just 2 pages. It's just title page, second page, copyright page. It's not going to go any longer than that. So I'm going to right click this and get rid of L, get rid of R, get rid of F, get rid of E. And I am going to add a new page. So you come over here, click that drop down, add page. Now here's all the different kinds. So there's even more than what you saw in there. And I'm just going to select normal page. So I've got this one here, the title page, and normal page. And it doesn't matter what order they're in over here, because later on you're going to tell it which thing to start with. So this doesn't really matter. But T does happen to be on top of N, which is actually the order that's going to be in the output. And this one, if I click on T, it says title here. If I click on N, it says untitled. I'm going to double click this to get to my properties, and I'm going to provide a page name for it. And this is just internal. It's not going to show up anywhere. It's just so that I know, oh yeah, that's the purpose of this page, copyright page right there. Now I'm kind of getting ahead of myself because this video is really just about the title page, not the copyright page, but because I want them both here in the same page layout, I'm kind of skipping ahead a little bit and putting this copyright page in here. Now I'm going to go back to this title page, and I have a body frame in here. That's the only frame I have. And I am going to copy this, just press Control C, go to my normal page and Control V to paste it in. I could have also used this right here to create a new body frame, and you just click on that and click and draw. We're going to be changing the placement and the sizes of these anyway. I just wanted to get a body frame in there. All right, so this is our page layout file. We got it created. We'll click save. It's right there. We're going to add to this folder as we go. We got this in place. We're just going to have to develop it. So we are going to begin messing with the different frames that we need next. I'm going to begin putting together this page layout, working on the frames just from the top down, just like the entire PDF mockup, I'm going to just look at this page, start at the top. So a header frame comes first. And there are, as I mentioned, different kinds of frames. You can see there's header, there's footer. Those are pretty easy to understand at the top or at the bottom. Body frame that you get from your topics that populates that main frame in your page layout. Then there's a decoration frame, which is you could just put anything in there that you just want to make something look nice. Or an image frame, which kind of does the same thing in a way. So you can select that and the image will take up all of the space of that frame. And we'll use that one. We're going to use the header, footer, body frame, the image frame. I don't know that we'll use the decoration frame. I'm going to start with the header frame. Right now, all I have in here is the body frame, and that's it in this particular page. So when I go back to the mockup in here, so I've got this at the top. Now, the graphic designer didn't tell me how tall to make this. So I could go back and ask for that, but I'm just going to kind of eyeball it and guess. And we'll just go ahead and draw it in here. So I'm going to click this and go header frame. And I'm going to click up here. And actually, I want to change this to width so I can see more of this. And I'm going to come down, let's say like 1.5 inches down on the page like that. And I can click on the body frame and just move it down for now. We'll deal with that later. But yeah, so there's the header frame. And I said inches. That's because this particular page, if you click on a frame, it's going to open up the frame properties. If you click outside of a frame, double click, it'll open up the page properties. And this particular page layout, the template that we used, was based on the letter size, 8.5 inches by 11 inches, but I could select, one of these others, A3, there's A4, so you're seeing centimeters, but when I was in grade school, they told us we were all switching to the metric system, and it never happened. I don't know, I guess because the communists would win, or we never got a straight answer. So while most of the world is probably using the metric system, we're still in inches here. So that's why I have the rulers showing the inches, but I could click on this and switch to pixels, points, centimeters if I wanted. I'm using inches in here. All right, so I've got that size. And what do I want to do with this? Let's look again at it. So it's pretty simple, just a plain white background, but I do have this left border in here, and I've got a couple of things in it. I got an image and then this text right there. So let's start with the border. I'm going to double click on that, get the frame properties to come up, select borders. I want a left border. How wide? Again, she didn't, give me that spec. I'm just going to guess 10 pixels. And then the colors. So if I go back and look at the colors, so that's an orange. In the very beginning, it shows me, oh, this is the hex number, ED7443. So I can copy that and paste it in when I select my my color in here. And I'm going to do that from here. It says, so it's solid. And what's the color? I can select more colors. And it's actually, I was previously messing around and I already have it in here. So I would put it in there, or I could click pick screen color and I could, have that mock-up on one side and just hover over it and click and it gives me that color. So I got that orange color in there and click OK. That looks pretty good. The width and the color. All right, so we got that. Okay, so we want the image in there too. What I can do is you can add images to the background of frames or to the background of pages. In this one, I'm going to add that image. And because we're working from a project that already has these images in it, if I come over here on the left, you can see, all right, images, assets, And then there are some subfolders. So there's a hero image in there, that big old image. There's some icons, and those are organized in other subfolders, and then a placeholder logo. And there's the logos in different colors: black, gray, orange, white. Click on one, it'll show you what you're looking at. And that's the one that's in our mock-up, that orange one, I believe. Yeah, the orange one. So I'm going to select that and see how that works. So I'm going to double click this, frame properties, go to the background, up on image, I'm going to select browse. That's going to open up the structure of the project and go into resources, images, assets. There's placeholder logo. There's my orange one. Click OK. Now, all right, it's repeating. I don't want it to repeat. So I'm going to click no repeat. And then need to position it. I want it on the left side of the frame, kind of in the middle. So go to the x-axis, and I can select left. It's on the left side, and Y, do the center, and click OK and see what we got. All right, so it's in there. Now the logo is bigger than what we want. It also looks a little bit fuzzy. That sometimes happens with raster images with print output. So we're actually going to tackle the blurriness later when I get to the images video later in this video series. For now, I'm just going to use this one in here. Now the size could be smaller. Unfortunately, when you're setting the background on these frames, you can't control the size in there. So what I might do is go back to the graphic designer and say, hey, you wanted this to be 180 pixels wide. Could you resize the logo for me? But I'm not going to do that. But I do want to move it over a little bit. It's squashed up against the left side. So open up the frame properties again. I'm not just limited to these left, right, center. I see it says 0 pixels down there. I can type how far to the left from the left side I want this. And I'm just going to kind of guess in here, and I'm going to type 60 pixels. And let's click OK. That looks better. So it's centered, vertically like that, but horizontally, yeah, it's coming over a certain amount of space, 60 pixels. Now let's go back. I always go back to the mock-up. I'm always referring back to it. So she gives us this lorem ipsum stuff over here. Well, that could be whatever I want it to be, or I don't have to put it in at all if I don't want. I'm looking at that thinking, well, that might be a good place for a version number. If I'm documenting versioned software, version 1.0, 2.0, whatever, that might be a good place for that. Thing is, you don't want to just type it in because the versions change. And so that's a perfect place to use a variable. So let's do that. Let's go into the project organizer under variables. I have one variable set in here, and it's already got some things in here which you can change. I don't have a version in here. I have like a year that's a year format, which why, that's just going to say the year 2023 or whatever year it is. And that way you don't have to remember when, time goes by, that it'll just replace that. Other variables are just simple text in here. I am going to create a new variable for the version number. So I will name it version, and I am going to put in here just an initial version number 1.0. And the thing is, so it's going, all the variables, wherever they're inserted in the project, or this variable, it's going to be based on 1.0. But as you're going to see later, we're going to override this at the target level down lower. So you might be producing one output that's on one version, one that's on another version, and so you can easily control it. But we're just going to put 1.0 in here. What I usually do, because we have several products at MadCap, and Flare is our main one. So I just put in whatever Flare's version number is in here, because that's most of the documentation that has more PDFs than anything else. So it's just less for me to change. I control it here at the variable set level. And then other products I'll override at the target level. All right, so we've got that here. Let's go back to our frame. And how do we get this in here? Well, this image we just put in the background, but you can also add content. Another way, you can open up this mini editor. And if you look down here, it says header F2 to edit text. So I have it selected. I'm going to do F2, and you get this little dialogue, and it's going, hey, you're trying to edit a header frame, or it might be a footer frame that I'm trying to edit. And it's wondering, are you trying to put a page number in here? Because that's a real common thing. And so it already has some setup that it will put in there for you. In this case, no, I don't want to do that. So I'm going to click no. If I did, I would click yes. So I'm going to click no. It opens up this little mini editor down here, which is just a lighter version of the main XML editor where you enter topics. And so what I am going to do is insert my variable that I just created. And you get the little toolbar here with some of the main things you want. There's insert variable. Select that. I'm on my general variable set, and there's my version. So I am going to, actually what I want to do is, I don't want just the number. I'm going to type the word version here. I'm not going to put that in the variable because there might be other places in the project where I want to use the version variable without the word before it. So I'm going to do that. Now I'm going to insert my version variable, and it's right there. And so it's showing in brackets and that kind of gray right there. That's because I have markers on. And so it's this thing right here. If I turn the markers off, you see what it's really going to show, except that highlighted part, I can turn that off too. That's not going to show in the output. It's just highlighting that. So I know it's a variable, but I could turn that off too. And you can't tell that that's a variable. It looks just like regular text. You can also turn on or off the variable name if you have markers on. So there's markers. And if I turn the name off, I only get 1.0. So there's different ways you can look at this. I'm going to turn variable names on and highlighting on, and I've got markers on. Okay, so we have that, and you can see that it's already up in here, but it's in the upper left. That's not where I want it. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to control where this is. Don't want to use local formatting. Some people call it inline formatting, where I'm just using this stuff to control the font where it is. Want to use styles. That's a better way to go. So I am going to create a style class. Right now it's using this P tag. What I like to do whenever I start working on styles is I like to right click on the structure bar of the tag and go to style class, edit style class, and it opens up my style sheet editor. Let's move this down a bit because of the resolution. I don't have a lot of room to work with here. And it selects what I'm using, which is the P tag, paragraph. Well, I'm going to create a class of that because I want it to be kind of like the paragraph tag. Close this for a moment. But so I want it to inherit those same things, but I want it to be kind of unique too, because most of my paragraphs I don't want aligned right. Well, but this one I do. So I'm going to create a special selector for that. Click this, and see it's based on the P tag, that element. So what do I want to call this? I'm going to call this title version, and click OK. And it adds it. See, there's P has a whole bunch of things under it, and title version now is one of those things. So now I need to provide the settings for it. And if I go back to this, she gives me Roboto regular 12 point. That's the information that I've got for it. Now, when we're talking about styles and print output, you probably are going to be using what's called your print medium a lot. Right now, this is the default medium. And so think of the default as like your main online content, the style settings for that. But then you can have mediums that are like alternate versions, which will inherit the settings from this default medium. But then you can override them. So for print, I might want like the same font family, but I want a different font size. And so I can just inherit the font family, but change the font size on the print medium. And you get to the print medium right here. You see there's also mobile and tablet, which actually are media queries for online output. There's print, and you can create more mediums too if you want. I'm just going to select that. So I've got them side by side. Right now, nothing's showing. We're working, by the way, in the advanced view of the style sheet editor, which I recommend because there's a lot more you can do, and it's really not, it's much easier than it used to be. The simplified view, it's not, much harder than the simplified view anymore. And you're just going to be limited if you use the simplified view. So we're on the advanced view, and then there's these different filters that you can use. So right now it's saying, hey, show me what's already set. Well, nothing's set yet for that style class. I can go to all properties and it just shows me everything, or I could flatten them out. I could switch to alphabetical view so it doesn't put them in these different sections. It just lists all the properties for there. So I'm going to go back to this one. And so what I want to do is put in the font family. She said Roboto. Now, here's the thing. If I go something like the font family, you're typically going to have a style that's used so much in your project that if you set it up at a high level, it's going to save you a lot of work. So you don't have to keep setting that same font family everywhere. And that level is up on the body tag. See, if you look down here in our little editor down at the bottom, the P tag is wrapped inside the body tag, which is wrapped inside the HTML tag. So it's really that body tag where you can set some stuff ahead of time. If I select body, let's change this filter back to set properties, and let's make this alphabetical. So it's already given me a color. The font family, saying Arial, Avenir, or however you say that, Myriad, this is a font family set. So it's saying, hey, when I generate my online output, I want you to use Arial. And if the person doesn't have that on their machine, then use this one. If they don't have it, then use this one. Well, she's telling me use Roboto. So I might go back to my graphic designer and say, hey, the online outputs, we have it set to use Arial for this. Are you sure we want to use Roboto? So we might just use Arial instead. Or we might want to change this to Roboto. Who knows? I'm just going to keep these separate because I don't know. So I'm going to use Roboto for my print output. So I will be entering Roboto a lot throughout this series. But that's what I would first look at doing. Can I save time by setting things on the body style, and then it'll trickle down to other things. All right. So what I'm going to do is go back to this style class title version. And when you select, I like this set properties filter because I get this add property thing in here, as opposed to having to scroll through all of the possible properties, looking for it. I can use this drop down, or if I know how it's spelled, I can just start typing in here. And I know that this is font family. So I can start typing, and you can see how it just kind of finishes it for you. And then I press enter, and now I can supply it. So I am the font family. I am going to click on this. It's actually moving off on the other side of the screen, so you can't see it. But I can also type in here, Roboto. That's how it's spelled. Make sure it's exactly right. And so that's my font family. And what else did I want? I wanted this to be 12 points. So that's font size. So I can start typing in here, font size, and it's already 12 point. And just go ahead and type it again. So once these things turn black, it's explicitly set. It's not inheriting. If it's gray, it's inheriting from somewhere else. So unless you explicitly set it, this stuff would be gray. So Roboto, 12 point. And then I want it to be aligned. So text align is what that's called. Right there. And if I click this, it's going to give me my options. And I want this right aligned. Now, there's also spacing. I don't want it crushed up against the edge. So I want some spacing. Probably I want some spacing on the top and on the bottom. Let's go back to, just to show you, all properties, and let's put this in the sections so you can see. If you don't know what something's called, you might use these categories to go look for it. And you're thinking, all right, margin, that's in the box. Some of these are more intuitive than others, but margin is in here. You got margin left, margin right, the total margin, whatever you want. So I want margin right. I'm going to make that 60 pixels because that's what I made the logo on the other side. And I'm going to do the top also. It's at 8 pixels, but I'm going to do 60 pixels because I know I want it down further. Now, if I go back to set properties and I go back to alphabetical view, you can see, all right, now my margin, that's what I've set. All right, so I have all of that in there. Now I need to come back down here. Just because I said it doesn't do anything because it's still using the paragraph style tag. You can see on the home ribbon, it's right here. I use this so much that I right-clicked it and I said add to quick access toolbar. So I have it up here. So a lot of times I'll just use this P title version, and it moved it over on that side. If I go back to my page layout, you can see it moved it over. Okay, so a lot of these settings, it's going to take us a little bit of time at first because I'm explaining things to you. But as we go on, I'm just going to show you what I set to save us some time. And now we kind of have our heading frame set. So now we can just move down the page and look at the next one. All right, so what's next? Let's go back to our mockup. So the hero image, that big thing right there, is next. So what we're going to do, I'm going to close this to give us more room. That one, and we'll move the body frame down to figure this out. So it's an image, so I can use that image frame. And that is right in here, that image business JPEG. And it's actually a really big image because its original intention was for the online output on that home page. And so I know it's going to be too big, but let's go ahead and do this anyway. Let's add, click in here to give this focus, click new image frame, and then you go find it. So it's in here under hero image right there. Now it looks innocent enough there, but if I click OK, yeah, it's ginormous. It goes on, there's some fingers and stuff. So it goes on for days. So I can just click the edges of that and resize it real easily down. The thing is, if I look at the mock-up, you're going to see it's not as high as the other one. It needs to be cropped. And so cropping is a good opportunity to also resize this down so it's more manageable. And I'll often do this in MadCap Capture, actually. I go in there and I change, oh gosh, what is the name of the thing that I change? I change the background scale to like 0.2 or something, and I crop it. And so that's what I went ahead and did that ahead of time. And I'm just going to paste that image that I cropped, an alternate version of it, and I'm going to paste it in here. All right, so there we go. I have this second image in here now. I'm going to try it again. I'm going to click this guy, click new image frame. And this time I'm going to select the smaller one. You can see that it's not as high. Click OK. And it's still too big for this, but I'm going to just click this and hold down my shift key to maintain the aspect ratio of it, the width and the height. Drag that down till it's manageable, and I'm going to just plop that in there. Again, I'm just eyeballing it, and I'm going to move this over there. All right. maybe move it up just a little bit. Okay, so I've got my hero image in there, and I'll go ahead and save. Let's go back to our mockup. So the next thing is this the PDF title. All right. So she has hello, how can we help? But mine's probably going to be, the name of this guide or that guide. And I want to reuse all of this for different PDFs. I want to reuse this and the bullet stuff and this stuff down here. So I'm going to use variables, and I'm going to put it in the topic. The thing is, this has a transparent background, that frame. This one is a solid frame, and this one is a solid frame positioned in a different place. So I'm actually going to use 3 body frames in here. First one, I'm going to use to hold this, and the second one I'm going to use to hold the bullet text, and the third one to use this description text down here. But I'm going to put all this content inside my topic, the title topic. So let's go back to Flare. And this is our title topic that we started out with. So I want to go create another variable. This is my variable set in here. And so I am going to I don't have one yet for this. So I'm going to create one and call this PDF title. And again, just like, I mentioned Flare was my main product, but I also have others, Central and Lingo and so on. And I put the version number related to Flare in here. I also might maybe pick out one of the user guides or some PDF that it's like, this is my main one or the first one that I do, and put the definition in here. So let's just say getting started. And then unless you override it at the target level later, it's going to use that. So let's do that, save that, come back in here to title, and we can insert the variable. I can click here and go choose it, but I can also come over here on the project organizer, span this, and I can just drag that sucker in here. So PDF title goes right there, and get rid of the word title. Okay, so I want to do as little, typing as possible. I want to have as few files as possible. So that's why I'm using that variable. Now we want to go back and we want to resize our body frame. We're going to use 3 body frames. One is for this heading. So I'm going to go back to the front matter, and this is my body frame that I have right now. And I want to shrink this so that it's just using the amount of space I need for a heading. Oops, undo that. This image frame is on top, so I'm going to select my body frame. That was the problem there. So I'm going to go to, let's see, is it layout? Yeah, depth. I'm going to float my body frame to the top so it's easier to grab in here. And I look at the mock-up and see about where this is. And I'm going to give it, enough height to get my title in there, but not too much, because the way this works is when you go from one body frame to another, it's going to fill the contents there, and then it will, if it can't get what content it can't get in there, then it'll move to the next one. So I want to create my titles so that they're not too many words, not wider than this. And I want this to be a certain height where like my bullets don't get shoved up in there. All right, so I created my first body frame, save that. Now I want to change the look of this. I'm going to use the header or the heading. And so it is this kind of white like that. And she gave me the settings, Roboto Medium 27 point. So I'm going to do that in my style sheet. So let's go back to the style sheet. Now I know the title is a major thing, so you might be tempted to use like H1, heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. I'm really reserving for my chapters. the headings in there. So I want something different. Yeah, I could create a class in here like h1.title or something, but I'm just going to do it off of the p tag in here. Now, when I create a brand new selector, I want to make sure right now the print medium has focus. I would come over here and select the default medium. I always you select it there so that it's available everywhere. I'm going to click add selector, and I'm going to call this, just name it title like that. And we're dealing with the print. So I'm going to set these things again in my print medium. I would set them in the default medium if I wanted this to be used both for online and print and the same properties, but I'm not even using my title in the online output. So I'm just going to enter it all over here in print. And here's what I went ahead and did. I added the color, and for some colors, the basic colors, you can just type white in here, or you can put in the hex number or whatever. Font family, Roboto medium, font size 27 point. All right, go back to the title and let's set that. So right now, it is using H1, and I'm going to tell it P title. And you do that and you go, well, that doesn't look anything like it. Well, here's why. Because I'm in the XML editor, and by default, it's using the layout web, which is associated with that default medium. So we're writing here and we're thinking, again, online first mentality. And that's what we're doing. Now, if you want to switch over and see how would this look with print, well, you change the layout in here. You go to a print layout, and it's going to give you this thing, some information about this. Just click OK. And now we see a page and we see a frame in here. And it's not just switching to that, it's also switching the medium. Now the print medium kind of travels along with this layout, so I didn't need to do that. But there's also page layout. And as we add more page layouts and pages, you can go down and specify. Right now it's on the front matter page layout, the only one we have, but it's using the normal page, which is what we're reserving for our copyright page. To see how it's going to look on the title page, we switch to title. And now we see all this stuff in here, the logo, the hero image, the version number, and there it is. Okay, so we're okay with that. Now, as I'm documenting, I almost always use the web layout view because I am thinking online first. But there are times like this when it really is helpful to switch to the layout so you really get an idea of what's going on for the print output. Moving on to the next piece, let's go back to the mock-up. All right, we got this other body frame that we're going to use for these bulleted items. So she made this really fun, didn't she? So I need to decide, do I want to use this? If so, what do I want to put in here? I'm going to go ahead and use it because I really want to replicate this. So the items in here, I'm thinking maybe these are just highlighted points of what this user guide is about, just some text. But if I'm going to create, 50 user guides, these things are going to be different in each one, most likely. They might not, but I'm going to use variables in here. And I got these little arrow images in here, and I don't have those in the project that I started out with, so I need to get those from her. This is similar to this header frame up here, and then I've got the border on the left, but it's kind of got this gray color. So, all right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a second body frame a little bit to the left of that one, kind of using halfway. So I'm just going, and once again, I'm going to eyeball this thing and hopefully get it right. So let's go back to Flare, back to my page layout. And I'm going to add the second body frame in here. Click on that. And now I'm just going to click and draw this thing there. Now, maybe a little bit lower there. Can always adjust this over time if I need to. Now I need to set the background color. So the background color, make it solid. Now she didn't give me the gray on there. So what I probably would do is, you're not able to see this, click pick screen color, and then I would have my mockup on the other monitor, and I would just click on that gray. And so I already went and did that to find out what the color is, the hex number. And the hex number on that is this. It's F3, F4, F4. There's our gray. So I'm going to click on that. And then I also want that border. And this will be easy because it's the same as the one we did before. And we did 10 pixels and more colors. And let's go look at recent, because it's just showing the gray that I just inserted. But if I look on recent, I can get back to this. Click OK, OK, boom. There we go. Save. All right, so we want to add the actual bullets and the images in our topic. And then that content's going to feed into this. So let's go back into here, and we have this placeholder text. I'm just going to press enter after that. Actually, I'll go ahead and get rid of that. So I just have this. So when I look at my mockup, so I've got these sort of arrow bullets on the left, and then the items. So I could do this in a couple of ways. One, I could create a table and put the arrows in the left column and the text in the right column. Or I could use an actual list, and I could use my style sheet to set the arrows as my bullets. That can be tricky. I might do that if I were going to reuse these arrows throughout, more parts of the project. But because this is just a one place thing, I think it's simplest to just use a table. So that's what I'm going to do. So come in here, and I am going to go up to table, click in this, and it's just a real simple table. And I want 2 columns, 4 rows. Do it like that. Now, whenever I add a table, notice the structure bars over here. Table body is all these pieces. In order to get things styled right, I like to make these add paragraphs within these. And so you can do it by just clicking in a cell and pressing enter, and then it adds a paragraph cell in there. Or you can just highlight all of them and go up here to cell content style, and then go select that. And so now they all have paragraph tags in them. It's just going to make it easier for us. Got our structure bars up here. I'm going to drag this to the left. You can also do this in a table style sheet. This is just a one place where I'm using this. So I'm just going to do this here. 50 pixels. That'll be right for our bullets. Let's just say that is what we want to go with. Okay, cool. Now I want to add my content. And as I said, I don't have those arrows in here. I'm going to get that image, and I'm going to put it in this folder. That makes as much sense as anything else for now. So let me just do that. And it's this one right here, icon arrows. And you can see they're pretty big. So I'm going to have to do something here. So I'm going to click and just drag this over into that one. Yeah, it's too big, but we'll deal with that. And then as far as the content in these, I'm going to use variables again. Or I could use snippets. It's a little bit more text than some variables, but I think the variables will work fine for that. So I'm going to go back to my variable set, and I will add these. All right, I went ahead and added these PDF bullet 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I gave them these. I just made this stuff up, just the definitions. And again, these are the definitions that may be in my most important PDF, but can overwrite these later for other targets. So go back to my topic, and I'm just going to drag these guys in, that guy in there. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so I have those. I don't have all the images yet because I want to fix this image first. What I want to do is I'm going to use my style sheet to limit the height and width of this thing so that it looks better. All right, let's go back to the style sheet. And I'm going to go up here. So I'm dealing with images. So I want the image tag style. And right now it's just got this one that's called thumbnail. And I am going to click on my default medium because I'm going to add a selector in here. And what I want to do is call this thing title page bullet icon. Let's just call it that. Okay, so I went ahead and I added max height of 20 pixels, max width of 30 pixels. It's going to automatically resize this for me. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to select that image, and my image structure bar is right up here. And it lets me know I'm using IMG. This shows it to me as well. And I can go and select image title page bullet icon. And there we go. Now I'm going to copy this and paste it into these other cells like that and save. Another style I want to do is for the paragraphs. Right now, these are just using plain paragraphs, but I need to follow the mockup. So I'm going to create another paragraph selector style class in here for that. So I created this title page bullet item class, and I made it the font family, Roboto Light, 16-point font size, and I also gave it margin bottom and top of 0. Now in the mock-up, she has line spacing 24 point. I think she means line height, which is what it's called in CSS, the space above and below lines. But this is in a table. So I'm going to just stay with this for now, and we'll adjust it later as we need to. Now going back to the topic, I am going to apply that. I'm going to select my table, go up here to table, cell content style, and I'm going to select this. Okay. Now, if I want to close the space between these images and the text, I could just click up here. This is just a quick way to do it. Just squeeze that in a little bit more. All right. But I need some more space between the bar and where the bullets begin, the table begins, and above it. So I am going to go back in to the page layout. I'll double click it and open this up. And I am going to add 50 pixels on the left, and I will add 30 pixels at the top of it. Click OK, save, come back to the topic. All right, I got more spacing in here, but that bullet has come down here to the bottom. It ran out of room in here. So I can adjust this by just coming back to my page layout and giving this a little bit more height. Let's save there and see how that does. Come back to the topic. There, we got it. We can always fidget with it more, but for now, we're good with it. We're getting closer. Let's go look at the next thing. So moving down from our bullet list here, we've got this. And so I think what I'll use this for is a product description or something. So I just kind of want to limit it to a certain, number of lines and characters in here and put it in this space. And I think probably the best thing is to put this in a snippet, and then we'll use conditions also later if we want to change this out for other PDF outputs. So first thing we need to do, we need to go add a third body frame that's going to house this, and we'll create our snippet and our style with these settings. All right. So let's go back into our page layout, and I am going to add a new body frame. And this one is going to come up here, and then about, let's say, 5 inches wide, and we'll come down here close to where this footer is going to be. And that way we'll have space over here. It's not, this is more than half, and this will be reserved for those icons. And you can see the arrow moving. Starts out with this body frame, then text is going to move into this body frame, and then it moves into this body frame. Okay, so we need to, let's see. We need to open this up, and we need to add that background color, solid, more colors, and we can do recent. This is what we use. Click OK. And we also want to add some padding, because that text, we could do this in a couple of ways. We can add the padding here on our frame, or we could do it on the style. I'll just go ahead and do it here. So I'm going to add top padding. I'm going to do 160 pixels, and I'm going to do left and right. Those are kind of even. I'm going to do left of 50 pixels, right of 50 pixels. That should be okay. Click OK. There we go. Now it's in front of this one, so I can click on, one of these. Like I click on this one that's going to hold the bullets and go into depth float, and it brings it up on top. All right, so I think that's pretty good. Now let's save this, go back to our title page, and we need to get below this table. So if it makes it easier for you, you can switch over to web layout and just press your down arrow until you get to body. So you know you're below the table, press enter, and that'll work. And then we're going to add some content in here. And I just add something. There we go. It's not much text. We'll see how this fills up the space. So we kind of want, for whatever product, we kind of want this, around the same size of content. And I'm going to add this. I'm going to create a snippet out of this instead of using a variable. So I'm going to create snippet, and I'll just put it in the main snippets folder, and we'll just call this product description. Okay, and create, and there it is. Now let's go back to our print layout here and see what happens. Okay, so it put it down there. That looks okay. But we do have a couple of other things. We want to change the style of this text so that it matches our mock-up. Let's look at the mock-up. So it looks like that Roboto Light 16-point line spacing or line height, 20-point. And then we also have this bar, this orange bar under it. Okay, so let's do one at a time. Let's do the style for this text. Go back to our style sheet. So I added another selector under the P tag, product description, and I give it the font family, Roboto Light, 16-point line height of 20 points. And so I need to go back in here, and I need to open up the snippet. That's where this is located. So I'm going to right click on it, select open snippet file, and I am going to apply that product description. So it's bigger in there, and come back. There it is. Now I also have that bar underneath it. Well, what you can use for that is a horizontal rule. And because I'm going to use this snippet for all of my product descriptions. I'll just have different text in here and condition it, but I want the bar to be the same. So I'm going to press enter after this, and it's in the insert ribbon right here, that horizontal rule. And if I click that, it's going to let me know, okay, these are the these are the options you have, in ones it's just a plain Jane HR tag. So I need to go dress that up. I'm going to go back to the style sheet, and what I want to look for up here is HR right there. Now, because I'm going to have some different horizontal rules, most likely, I'm going to create a class under that to make it unique. All right, so I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so I created HR title page and I give it a background color and a border color of that orange because I just want to make sure it's solid. Height of 5 pixels, margin left of 0. The reason I did that is because if I don't select that, if I don't set the margin left, it's just going to be centered. So I just told it 0. Margin top of 30 pixels, give it some space between that and the text, and then a width of, I just guessed, 0.6 inches. So let's go back to our topic and let's insert, oh, actually, we'll want to go to the snippet because we want to keep it in there. And we're going to insert this. And now that I added that style class, you can see it in there. Title page, okay. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Save that, go back to our topic. All right, so that's what we're dealing with. Again, if I want to, make that not quite as wide, I can go back into the style sheet and do that later. Got that done. So we only have a couple more elements on this title page. I told you this was going to be a long video, the longest one. So let's go back to our mockup. We've got these icons in here, and then we've got our footer. So let's do the icons. Now, I already have these icons individually in the project, but in order to get them clustered like this, it's easier to just deal with one image. So what I did was I went back to the graphic designer and said, can you just group those into one image for me so I can just easily use them? So she did that. So what I'm going to do is copy that image into my project. Come down here, and it is in, I think, main icons. And the name of the image is icons cover. That's what she gave me. So I'm going to paste that in here, and right there it is. So you can see that's what it is. So this one should be pretty easy. I'm going to add another image frame in here. So let's go back to our page layout and select new image frame. And let's go select that icons cover. Comes in here and it's big. And so I can just click and drag this, and move it to get it out the size I want and where I want it. So I just want to get it down here. And then I'm going to click on this, just kind of manipulate it, move it around, and doesn't have a, it's on this white background. So that just works real easily. I don't have to do any extra work. Just kind of get it in there where I want it. And I go, all right, that looks okay. Like that. Again, can fidget with that later if I want, and save. That one was super easy. One last thing, and that is our footer. So back to our mock-up, and it's just this simple orange rectangle down here. Got lorem ipsum, some Latin, kind of a divider there, a bar, and then lighter text. So we get the Roboto medium, Roboto light, 12 point on both of those, and the logo again over on the right. So we're going to add all of this directly in a footer frame. So let's go back here and let's add a footer frame. Click in here, just kind of see how this looks. And I'm going to go in, double click this, and the height says 65. Hey, let's just make it 65 and call it a day. And the background, we know we want that solid orange color. So we go in here, it's already set there. All right, what else do we want? Let's just click OK for now. There we go. Might maybe move that down just a smidge like that to make sure that we've got it all covered. Great. So we need to add that text on the left, the logo on the right. I'm going to do this by opening up the little editor again, F2. No, I don't want a page number on my title page. So no, opens up my little editor. So I got the text on the left, logo on the right. I'm thinking the easiest way to do this is with a table. And so I'm going to add that again, table, and I just want one row, two columns like that. All right, so I got that in there. And I'm probably going to need more space on the left than on the right, because who knows what's going to be on the left. And the right's just a little logo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on this cell that column and structure bar, and I'm going to make this 70%. Where is it? Right there. And then I'm going to right click on this guy and I'm make him 30%. There. All right. That's what we'll start with. Now, again, I do want to put paragraph tags in here. So I'm going to select that, cell content style, and just do paragraph for now. And change that. So I got that in there. What I want on the left, what do I want those two pieces to be? And I don't have to follow the mockup exactly, but we're going to do it. So to see how we can get dark text on one side, light text on the other side, with that bar separating them. I'm thinking the company, because of this, the title page, the company name on the left, and then we'll have the bar and then the product name on the right, and then the logo in that right cell. So I already have some variables for this. So I'm going to click this, and I got my company name right there, and space, and I'm going to type the bar, space, and insert my other variable, which is my product name. All right, do that. And now on the right side, I can just insert my logo. And so click here to insert an image. And it is under placeholder logo. And this one is what color? It's the white one. So I'm going to select that. And can I get to my, there we go. Okay. Adds it in there, click save. Now let's kind of look in here. All right. So as I saved it, it put it in here. Now, of course, we need to do some styling to position this right. The logo's too big. Again, something like that could be a little bit blurry for print output. We'll deal with that later in the image video. But for now, let's just tackle the look of these different pieces. Let's go back to our style sheet one more time. Okay, let's take a look at what I did here. I made a few different style classes. Under the paragraph style, I added footer content left. And what I did was I set that to white, because that is what it's on that orange background. We need the text to be white down there. Font family, Roboto medium, 12 point. Margin left, I just decided 50 pixels, and I want it aligned on the left-hand side. Then I did for the right side of the table, did margin right of 50 pixels to mirror what I have on the in the other cell, and text align of right. I didn't do font family or font size because this one is holding just the logo. I can put it in there in case I want to use that space for something other than the logo, but I went ahead and just did this. Now, I also created a span class down here called footer text light. So span class is used for character level styles. So up until now, I've been doing, or for the most part, I've been doing paragraphs, and which are block. It takes up the entire space. But this is where you're on a line and you just want some of the content to be a certain way, but not everything on that line. And so in this case, in our mockup, we've got dark text using Roboto medium on the left, and that's what I set on the paragraph style. But then on the span, I'm going to override that and make it lighter, Roboto light. So I created this footer text light and just made it Roboto light. The final thing I did was I went up to the image style and I created the footer logo class. And that's because I want to automatically resize that logo and give it a little space. So I gave it a margin top of 8 pixels, max height of 30 pixels, and a max width of 120 pixels. Now, by the way, all of these styles, it's not like I know immediately what to set on things. Sometimes I just guess and get lucky. And other times I have to tweak it and mess with it and go back and look and then change it again. And maybe I, tried the wrong property. You just figure it out. But the longer you do this, the easier it is to kind of guess and know what properties to use. Okay, so I got those. Let's go back to our page layout, and I'm going to open this little editor one more time. Come down here, and this in the left cell, I want that to be footer content left. And then over on the right, where my logo is, that's going to be footer content right. Like that. Okay, and it's kind of hard to see down here, but if you look up in the page layout, you can see it happening. It's just hard because I got that orange background and some white text down here. Now I'm also going to select you kind of have to move your cursor to get that arrow cursor, and there's my logo. And I'm going to apply that image style class, which is the footer logo, makes it smaller, which brings this stuff up. And finally, you can see it if I highlight there. I've got a variable, there's my bar, and another variable. Well, I want this second variable to be using that span class. It's lighter text. The thing is, if I just select that, it's going to select this MadCap variable thing, which I don't want. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll just click right before it and type a character like X and type another one there. And that way I can select the X to the X. And now I get this as is. And I can go select my span footer light text and then get rid of my X's. I know that's a little clunky, but that's sometimes what I do, and save that. And there we go. Now, again, I could tweak the spacing above and below if I wanted, but for now, I think we got it. I think that is our page, our title page. So looking through the whole thing, we got our header up there. We've got our hero image. We've got the title, our bulleted list, our product description with the horizontal bar, icons, and footer. All right, did that. So that I know was sort of a long process. That's because this was a fancy pants title page and it just kind of had to work through it. So the rest of these pages in some ways should be much easier and faster. They're just going to be different. So that's it for the title page. And now we'll move on to the next movie where we're going to go to the next page after that, the copyright page.